The Urantia book, paper 189, The Resurrection. Soon after the burial of Jesus on Friday afternoon, the chief of archangels of Nebadon, then present on Urantia, summoned his council of the resurrection of sleeping will creatures and entered upon the consideration of a possible technique for the restoration of Jesus. These assembled sons of the local universe, the creatures of Michael, did this on their own responsibility. Gabriel had not assembled them. By midnight they had arrived at the conclusion that the creature could do nothing to facilitate the resurrection of the Creator. They were disposed to accept the advice of Gabriel, who instructed them that since Michael had laid down his life of his own free will, he also had power to take it up again in accordance with his own determination. Shortly after the adjournment of this council of archangels, the life carriers and the various associates in the work of creature rehabilitation and Urantia creation, the personalized adjuster of Jesus, being in command of the assembled celestial host then on Urantia, spoke these words to the anxious waiting watchers. Not one of you can do aught to assist your Creator Father in the return to life. As a mortal of the realm, he has experienced mortal death. As the sovereign of a universe, he still lives. That which you observe is the mortal transit of Jesus of Nazareth from life in the flesh to life in the Urantia. The spirit transfer of this Jesus was completed, and at the time I separated myself from his personality and became your temporary director. Your Creator Father has elected to pass through the whole of the experience of his mortal creatures from birth on the material worlds and through natural death and the resurrection of the Urantia into the status of true spirit existence. A certain phase of this experience you are about to observe, but you may not participate in it. Those things which you ordinarily do for the creature, you may not do for the Creator. A Creator's Son has within himself the power to bestow himself in the likeness of any of his created sons. He has within himself the power to lay down his observable life and to take it up again. And he has this power because of the direct command of the Paradise Father. And I know whereof I speak. When they heard the personalized adjuster so speak, they all assumed the attitude of anxious expectancy, from Gabriel down to the most humble cherubim. They saw the mortal body of Jesus in the tomb. They detected evidences of the universe activity of their beloved sovereign. And not understanding such phenomena, they waited patiently for developments. The Urantia Transit 1. At 2:45 Sunday morning, the Paradise Incarnation Commission, consisting of 7 unidentified Paradise personalities, arrived on the scene and immediately deployed themselves about the tomb. At 10 minutes before 3, intense vibrations of commingled material and Urantia activities began to issue from Joseph New Tom. And at 2 minutes past 3 o'clock this Sunday morning, April 9, AD 30, the resurrected Urantia form and personality of Jesus of Nazareth came forth from the tomb. After the resurrected Jesus emerged from his burial tomb, the body of flesh in which he had lived and wrought on earth for almost 36 years was still lying there in the sepulchral niche, undisturbed and wrapped in linen sheet, just as it had been laid to rest by Joseph and his associates on Friday afternoon. Neither was the stone before the entrance of the tomb in any way disturbed. The seal of Pilate was still unbroken. The soldiers were still on guard. The temple guards had been on continuous duty. The Roman guard had been changed at midnight. None of these watchers suspected that the object of their vigil had risen to a new and higher form of existence, and that the body which they were guarding was now a discarded outer covering, which had no further connection with the delivered and resurrected Urantia personality of Jesus. Mankind is slow to perceive that in all that is personal, matter is the skeleton of Urantia, and that both are the reflected shadow of enduring spirit reality. How long before you will regard time as a moving image of eternity and space, as a fleeting shadow of paradise realities? As far as we can judge, no creature of this universe, nor any personality from another universe, had anything to do with this Urantia resurrection of Jesus of Nazareth. On Friday he laid down his life as a mortal of the realm. On Sunday morning he took it up again as a Urantia being of the system of Satania in Norlatiadek. There is much about the resurrection of Jesus which we do not understand, but we know that it occurred as we have stated and at about the time indicated. We can also record that all known phenomena associated with this mortal transit or Urantia resurrection occurred right there in Joseph's new tomb, where the mortal material remains of Jesus lay wrapped in burial cloths. We know that no creature of the local universe participated in this Urantia awakening. We perceive the 7 personalities of paradise surround the tomb, but we did not see them do anything in connection with the Master's awakening. Just as soon as Jesus appeared beside Gabriel, just above the tomb, the 7 personalities of paradise signalized their intention of immediate departure for Uversa. Let us forever clarify the concept of the resurrection of Jesus by making the following statements. 1. His material or physical body was not a part of the resurrected personality. When Jesus came forth from the tomb, his body of flesh remained undisturbed in the sepulchre. He emerged from the burial tomb without moving the stones before the entrance and without disturbing the seals of Pilate. He did not emerge from the tomb as a spirit nor as Michael of Lebanon. He did not appear in the form of creator sovereign, such as he had before his incarnation in the likeness of mortal flesh or Urantia. 3. He did come forth from this tomb of Joseph in the very likeness of the Urantia personalities of those who, as resurrected Urantia ascendant beings, emerged from the resurrection halls of the first mentioned worlds of this local system of Satania, and the presence of the Michael Memorial in the center of the vast court of the resurrection halls of Mansonia, number 1, leads us to conjecture that the Master's resurrection on Urantia was in some way fostered on this, the first of the system mansion worlds. The first act of Jesus on arising from the tomb was to greet Gabriel and instruct him to continue in executive charge of the universe affairs under Emmanuel. And then he directed the chief of Melchizedek's to convey his brotherly greetings to Emmanuel. He thereupon asked the Most High of Urantia for the certification of the ancients of days as to his mortal transit, and turning to the assembled Urantia groups of the 7 mansion worlds, he gathered together to greet and welcome their creator as a creature of their order. Jesus spoke the first words of the post-mortal career. Said the Urantia Jesus, "Having finished my life in the flesh, I would tarry here for a short time in transition form, that I may more fully know the life of my ascendant creatures and further reveal the will of my Father in paradise." After Jesus had spoken, he signaled to the personalized adjuster and all the universe intelligences who had been assembled on Urantia to witness the resurrection were immediately dispatched to their respective universe assignments. Jesus now began the context of the Urantia level, being introduced as a creature to the requirements of the life he had chosen to live for a short time on Urantia. This initiation into the Urantia world required more than an hour of Earth time and was twice interrupted by his desire to communicate with his former associates in the flesh, as they came out from Jerusalem, wondering to peer into an empty tomb to discover what they considered evidence of his resurrection. Now the mortal transit of Jesus, the Urantia resurrection of the Son of Man, completed. The transitory experience of the Master as a personality midway between the material and spiritual has begun. And he has done all this through power inherent within himself. No personality was rendered him any insistence, and now lives as Jesus of Urantia. And as he begins this Urantia life, the material body of his flesh lies there undisturbed in the tomb. The soldiers are still on guard, and the seal of the governor about the rocks had not yet been broken. 2. The material body of Jesus. At 10 minutes past 3 o'clock, as the resurrected Jesus fraternized with the assembled Urantia personalities from the 7 mansions worlds of Satania, the chief of archangels, the angels of the resurrection, approached Gabriel and asked for the mortal body of Jesus. Said the chief of the archangels, "We may not participate in the Urantia resurrection of the bestowal experience of Michael, our sovereign, but we would have his mortal remains put in our custody for immediate dissolution. We do not propose to employ our technique of dematerialization. We merely wish to invoke the process of accelerated time. It is enough that we have seen the sovereign live and die on Urantia. The hosts of heaven would be spared the memory of enduring the sight of the slow decay of a human form of the creator and upholder of a universe. In the name of the celestial intelligences of Nebadon, I ask for a mandate giving me the custody of the mortal body of Jesus of Nazareth and empowering us to proceed with its immediate dissolution." And when Gabriel had conferred with the senior most high of Urantia, the archangel's spokesman for the celestial host was given permission to make such disposition of the physical remains of Jesus as he might determine. After the chief of archangels had been granted this request, he summoned to his assistance many of his fellows, together with a numerous host of the representatives of all orders of celestial personalities, and then, with the aid of the Urantia midwayers, proceeded to take possession of Jesus' physical body. This body of death was a purely material creation. It was physical and literal. It could not be moved from the tomb as the Urantia form of the resurrection had been able to escape the sealed sepulchre. By the aid of certain Urantia auxiliary personalities, the Urantia form can be made at one time as the spirit, so that it can become indifferent to ordinary matter, while at another time it can become discernible and contactable to material beings, such as mortals of the realm. As they made ready to remove the body of Jesus from the tomb, preparatory to according it the dignified and reverent disposal of near instantaneous dissolution, it was assigned the secondary Urantia midwayers to roll away the stones from the entrance of the tomb. The larger of these 2 stones was a huge circular affair, much like a millstone, and it moved in a groove chiseled out of the rock, so that it could be rolled back and forth to open or close the tomb. When the watching Jewish guards and the Roman soldiers in the dim light of the morning saw these huge stone begin to roll away from the entrance of the tomb, apparently of its own accord, without any visible means to account for such motion, They were seized with fear and panic, and they fled in haste from the scene. The Jews fled to their homes, afterwards going back to report these doings to their captain at the temple. The Romans fled to the fortress of Antonia and reported what they had seen to the centurion as soon as he arrived on duty. The Jewish leaders began to sordid business of supposedly getting rid of Jesus by offering bribes to the traitorous Judas. And now, when confronted with this embarrassing situation, instead of thinking of punishing the guards who deserted their post, they resorted to bribing these guards and the Roman soldiers. They paid each of these 20 men a sum of money and instructed them all to say, "While we slept during the nighttime, his disciples came upon us and took away the body." And the Jewish leaders made solemn promises to the soldiers to defend them before Pilate in case it should ever come to the governor's knowledge that they had accepted a bribe. The Christian belief in the resurrection of Jesus has been based on the fact of the empty tomb. It was indeed a fact that the tomb was empty, but this is not the truth of the resurrection. The tomb was truly empty when the first believers arrived, and this fact associated with that of the undoubted resurrection of the Master led to the formulation of a belief which was not true. The teaching that the material mortal body of Jesus was raised from the grave. Truth having to do with the spiritual realities and eternal values cannot always be built up by a combination of apparent facts. Although individual facts may be materially true, it does not follow that the association of a group of facts must necessarily lead to truthful spiritual conclusions. The tomb of Joseph was empty, not because the body of Jesus had been rehabilitated or resurrected, but because the celestial host had been granted their request to afford it a special and unique dissolution, a return of the dust to dust, without the intervention of the delays of time, without the operation of the ordinary and visible process of mortal decay and material corruption. The mortal remains of Jesus underwent the same natural process of elemental disintegration as characterized all human bodies on earth, except that, in point of time, this natural mode of dissolution was greatly accelerated, hastened to the point where it became well nigh instantaneous. The true evidences of the resurrection of Michael are spiritual in nature, albeit this teaching is corroborated by the testimony of many mortals of the realm who met, recognized, and communed with the resurrected Urantia Master. He became a part of the personal experience of almost 1,000 human beings before he finally took leave of Urantia.